She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We are blessed that you decided to join us today. You know, there's a lot of myths out there for having a successful marriage. You know that somehow a boy meets girl and everyone lives happily ever after, and that, there's never any conflict, everything is just so perfect. Well, we're kind of gonna, look behind the veil today about the reality of marriage and really look at what's some of the best advice that you've ever gotten for marriage, preparing you for marriage, and even during. What were some of the biggest revelations you had that actually helped your marriage to do better? Because, I have yet to meet a perfect couple. Nope, haven't met one yet. No, but I have met a lot of couples who have struggles and they have conflict. And whenever I meet somebody that says, oh no, we've never had a crossword before. Chances are they're usually lying. In fact, I've caught several people in those kinds of lies, like seriously. I mean, I've known some of them for 2 decades and seen them have crosswords with each other, but we've never had a crossword with each other. Who are you trying to fool? Listen, here on the Dani Johnson Show, we redefine success, the status quo of success. Because our society is telling us what a successful marriage looks like, what successful finances look like, right? You're not a good husband if you don't give your wife some big fancy house. You're not a good wife if you're not a 36, 24, 36. You're not a good husband if your wife doesn't have a new car every couple of years. It's such a bunch of nonsense. You're not a successful couple if you don't have a boat and a jet ski. It's such a lie. None of that stuff has anything to do. In fact, all of those things, all that stuff actually can cause so much stress and pressure on a marriage that it causes the couple to fight and end up divorced. Over what? Over stuff. The stuff that society drove you and I to purchase, telling us this is what it takes to be successful. But here's the reality, friend. There's a price that gets paid, and usually the husband and wife are the ones that pay it. Now listen, you might be saying right now, Dani, I am single. This will not apply to me. Oh, yes, it does. And here's why. We're going to be talking about conflict. We're going to be talking about how to resolve it. And if you're single and want to get married, you need to know the truth about it. You need to know the reality before you get into that pool. You need to know what the temperature of it is. And this kind of conversation might be able to help you to decide what you really want in a marriage and what really is the truth about it and what kind of skills do you need to be successful at it. One of the greatest lies and myths that is out there is that you have to marry the right person. I'm here to tell you, you have to be the right person. Recently, I was in a discussion with somebody. And this discussion was about, gosh, I've done it again. I've already been married X amount of times and now, I'm still this mess. Why do I keep getting myself into this situation? And here was the reality. I'm like, look, you're easily manipulated. And if you're easily manipulated, the manipulator will manipulate at new levels. And you have to set a boundary line of a communication of no manipulation. And don't let somebody get your goat. So the reality is, if you're one that reacts easily to others in marriage or at work or on the freeway, if you react and get upset and you blow your top, some of us blow our top through our fingertips with text messaging. Some of us blow our top with our fist. Some of us blow our top with leaving. It's like, I'm leaving you. I'm out of here. I'm packing my bags. I'm leaving. All of this is a form of manipulation, all a form of control, unhealthy living circumstances. And we can all learn. So that's why I said you and I have to be the right person in order to have successful marriage. It's not finding the right person. It's you found it. It's you. So what skills do you need to be able to sustain yourself in honor and respect, in kindness and encouragement and edification of one another? Who do you have to become in order to be someone that another person actually wants to live with? I know I was not someone that anyone should have lived with in my early years of being married. Lord have mercy. I would not have wanted to be married to me. I was evil. Terrible. I'll tell you more about that later. But we're going to the phones. We asked some of our friends on Facebook what their comments were about best advice that they got in marriage, things that they had to learn. What changes did they personally make to fix the set of circumstances that they were in. Because marriage is supposed to be until death does us part, right? I know we live in a society and a culture that says if it doesn't work, get out of it. I know that I've been married and divorced. Okay, I was divorced. I got married after knowing a guy for 7 days. He cheated twice, ripped me off. I was embezzled. He's gone. Okay, so biblically, I had the right to leave that marriage. Actually, he left the marriage. I didn't leave the marriage. He left the marriage, and just moved in with some other chick. That was the way he went about things. If I was smart, I would not have married a guy that I knew for 7 days. Duh. My second marriage and last, and only, is to this fine gentleman right here, my husband Hans. Our marriage can be described as seasons of absolute passionate love and bliss. Oh my gosh. Separated by earthquakes, tsunamis, typhoons. Yeah, hurricanes. Sometimes all in the same day. Hopefully, if I don't forget, I've got to share with you a tip that we did last year that has totally revolutionized our marriage in this next season. But first, we're going to go over to London, the United Kingdom. We have Linda Potgieter on the line with us all the way from the UK. Wait to hear her beautiful accent. So, Linda, what did you have to change in your marriage in order to succeed in it?
Hi, Dani.
Hi, gorgeous.
Hi. Gosh, I had to change a whole lot, and it had everything to do with me and not all the praying I was doing to change my husband.
Don't you find it funny that, because I did this whole pray for my husband thing about 23 years ago, whatever it was. And I remember going, God, you have to change him. I know I was out of your will when I married him. I wasn't walking with you. So please get me out of this marriage. I hate him. And he doesn't do this, and he doesn't do that, and he doesn't do this. You need to change him. And then I heard the voice of the Lord speak to me and say, we're going to start with you first. What? What do I need to change? Yeah, it's a rude awakening, isn't it, Linda?
Oh, my goodness. I was chatting to a friend not long ago, Dani. I said to her, it kind of dawned on me. I had been praying to God for I really believe in my God. He's amazing. But I was praying to him for 13 years to change my husband. His name is Jan. And then eventually I got with him and I said, you haven't answered any of those prayers. And so it kind of, I got to a point when he has answered so many of my prayers, and I got to a point where I thought, okay, there must be something in that, and it turns out it was me. But yeah, the difference, Dani, I think was I had been married twice. I was married for the first time for 4 months, really, really good man, but it went very wrong very quickly. And then when I married Jan 13 years ago, also an excellent man, an amazing father, an excellent businessman, a good friend. In every area, I could see that he was good, except it just didn't seem like a good husband. But what I learned was, of all the marriage counseling we did, we went for 6 different rounds of counseling in 13 years. It actually didn't boil down to, well, you need to learn to communicate better. That was just not the problem. The problem was just getting over some stuff and understanding, just getting over how I felt and understanding how I felt versus the facts of marriage. And I didn't have an understanding about marriage at all when we entered into it.
Yep. You know what's so interesting? There's something that's been coming to my gut as I've heard you talk. And I know this to be true even in my life and so many clients that I've worked with. And it's this, that unless we change, we can't even see the change that has happened in others. And so God could actually be changing another person. But if we are not submitting ourselves to him and allowing the refiner's fire to cut away the things that need to be cut away inside of us, then we can't even see the change or the improvements or the blessing of the man that God has given us. Or in the case with a man who has the same thing, that he's crying out to God saying, change my wife, change my wife. No, you first, baby. You first.
Yeah.
Because you'll never be able to appreciate her, value her, or even see what she is to you unless you change. And so, do you think that maybe you were blinded by things from your past that caused you not to see the value that you had in a husband?
Oh, Dani, the short answer is yes. You know, I heard a woman by the name of Charlotte Gamble say recently, I heard a podcast, and she said, you can't hear the good news or see the good news until you get over your past blues.
Yeah.
And it was such a simple, lovely way of saying, you know, we all have a story, and some of us grow up in less than ideal circumstances, and some have idyllic circumstances, but nevertheless, we all have a story, and we all have our feelings and our experiences. And I could not see before me the man that I'm married to because I was so broken. It's such a coincidence. 2 hours ago, I had an amazing conversation with a friend of mine, Julie, who is actually coming with me to First Steps to Success next weekend. And she's the only one who knows me this well from 10 years ago. And she said she's coming with me to the next DaniJohnson.com conference because she can't believe the difference in me, and she wants a bit of that because she said I was such a broken, fragile, feisty, driven, competitive individual that most people didn't know what to do with. I was broken. But you wouldn't say that on the outside. So I think my husband and I attracted one another for the outside reasons. You know, we have this deep love for one another, but Julie said to me, I remember you guys, every time we were together, you were sparring, you were competing, you were positioning. It's as if you weren't even on the same team.
Yeah.
And unity was just not anything that we ever understood, Dani. Unity was never a word that we ever even considered to be part of marriage.
Yeah. And that's hard to be married without unity.
Yeah. The point of change for me came when I got into an environment which was at First Step Success in February 2013. For the first time in my second marriage and my whole 41, now 43 years, I came across people who were honest enough, who were having the same challenges in marriage, who were open about it and saying, actually, it's not down to my communication skills, it's actually down to me working on me and you working on you.
Yeah.
And I suddenly found myself in a new environment with very driven, very inspiring, very honest and encouraging people, and I didn't feel alone anymore. I used to feel like an absolute failure.
Yes.
I felt like the worst wife in the world.
And that you're the only one failing in that way, you know, that there's no one else has a marriage that is this bad and no one else could ever understand. And that's exactly what doubt and worry and unbelief will do to us. That's exactly what self-sabotage will do to us when we entertain those thoughts, is isolate us so that we don't get the help that we need. And so I'm so blessed that you tapped into First Step to Success 2 years ago and have had just a crazy transformation of your entire life. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Linda believed a lie about her marriage, and it ultimately caused her marriage to end. Are you believing the same lie? Find out next on The Dani Johnson Show.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
It's time for a checkup from the neck up. This is The Dani Johnson Show.
Recently, I was asked to do a marriage renewal, and this was a couple that had been married for 13 years, and on their 13th wedding anniversary, they wanted their marriage to be renewed. I've done lots of weddings and lots of renewals, but there was something just so unique about this one. And just so happens that they were a couple from the UK, Jan and his beautiful wife, Linda Potgieter, from London. And they'd been coming to First Steps for a couple of years at that point and have had incredible success and growth in lots of different areas. But when I asked them why they wanted to do this, it was so interesting. And I wanted to bring it up because it's really important since we're talking about marriage today. And marriage has everything to do with success in life. It does. If you're single, learn from today's show and learn from hearing the transparency and the reality and the challenges and the conflicts that married couples actually deal with, so you are prepared coming into it versus this stupid thing of rainbows, lilies, and butterflies. I mean, because that's a lie. I mean, it's a lottery ticket out there with the way society is selling us success in marriage. It's marrying the right person. You have to become the right person. You have to become the right communicator. You have to be one that wants to be unified with another person. And it means that two people become one flesh. That means a completely different entity altogether. That means a part of you is not going to be the same, and a part of her or him is not going to be the same, depending on, obviously, if you're the husband or if you're the wife. You're a part of you is going to mold and be shaped into something new. But I've got Linda on the phone. She called in first to share her story about some things that she had to learn for herself. But this was profound. Linda, the reason why you wanted to renew your vows on your 13th wedding anniversary, which is just a few months ago, was for what reason? Your first marriage, you got married where? And what was it?
Well, Dani, I got married in South Africa. So I was born and raised in South Africa, and I dated a guy, a very, very good man, for 6 years. Very tumultuous relationship, but I was married to my career, unbeknown to me and unbeknown to him. And so I guess a step back would be to say I grew up in very kind of violent homes, and so I think subconsciously, I expected marriage to be a battlefield, and it really was. But I determined that I was going to make this work, that I was going to be the first generation of non-divorce, that I was going to, be the success factor. And boy, I was wrong. 4 months later, a couple of things happened, and I filed for divorce, and I was absolutely shattered, just knowing that I was just the next statistics in my life, in my family.
Because you can't do it on your own, no matter what. You cannot do marriage by yourself, period. You need God. So when you married Jan 13 years ago, you guys got married in a courthouse, and you realized that you had a contract. And that's actually what was spoken over the two of you when you got married, that it was a contract versus what?
Well, that's the crazy thing is, we haven't had no understanding really of, we both loved God and we're not walking a life, out with him, but we had to choose between using our money to emigrate to the UK or using our money to get, this big flashy wedding. So we decided we want to build a business and a life in Europe, and we want to travel the world. So we went into a little office. We left our big corporate business, our company on the Friday. We went down, got married, into a contract. It was a legal, this whole jurisdiction around, there's a legality and nothing else. God had nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. And we signed this contract, and I remember going back to Johannesburg feeling really empty and kind of very, very just sad and disappointed, and that's how we started our marriage. I never shared that with my husband. I didn't want him to be impacted by how I felt. And then when we got with it was in August 2012, actually. I was attending the wedding of a good friend of mine, Anna and Max, in London. And there was a guy by the name of Clint Walter from Durban, South Africa, and he was the first person that I'd ever heard speaking about the difference between contract versus covenant.
Yep.
And Jan and I was about 6 months pregnant at the time, and I thought I was just being very emotional, and I felt I was crying. But then I looked, and my husband, who I've seen crying maybe twice in my life, was crying.
Yeah.
And
there's a huge difference between a contract and a covenant. And a covenant is for life. A covenant, even biblically, it took blood to actually seal that covenant. But a contract is, if it doesn't, then no problem. If it doesn't work, then we break the contract. But covenants cannot be broken. And that's what her and her husband brought to me, saying, when we got married 13 years ago, we got married in an office and we signed a contract. And even the person that did it just say, hey, if this doesn't work, then this. And if this doesn't, it was completely conditional. But marriage cannot be conditional if it's going to succeed. You have to go completely all in and know that until death do us part. So either we have to die to our own selves in order for this to be able to work, and we get transformed into a new image as a couple instead of being who we were. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
So what is success? A big house? A big title? A big fat paycheck? Dani Johnson has had them all, and you need to hear what she discovered when she had them.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
Helping you become all you were meant to be. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Dani, I married the wrong person. Oh, my friend, that is the voice of 98% of the population. My goodness, it's shocking. 98% of the population has been sold such a lie, a complete myth about marriage, that it's about finding the right person. I used to believe that, and that led me into my first failure in marriage, where I thought I found the right person, and then when it didn't work out, it didn't work out. And in two adulterous affairs that my husband had, not to mention all kinds of financial disgusting mess that I ended up homeless. The bottom line is I made the mistake of marrying somebody that I should have never married. And I wasn't the right person to be married to, no question. I needed to work on myself. And so what I've seen even in my marriage with Hans, that we have been together for 24 years. 24 years, having babies together. We have 5 children. 7 grandchildren. I had a daughter from high school. Yes, I was a pregnant teen. I've been every kind of statistic you could imagine. Certainly not set up for success at all. Certainly my upbringing did not train me to be a good wife. It didn't train me to be a good mother. My upbringing didn't train me to be a business person or to be sound financially. It didn't train me to be emotionally sound, mentally sound. Should be in a mental hospital based on the childhood that I had. I'm so very, very grateful to my Creator. Wow, that He, through His wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, has taught me through many different people on this thing called marriage and how to work through these things. And that really it's about this, is that you're never perfect. It is that each season of your life, you get the training and mentorship that you need to be able to move past that season. You know, we did a really good job in our early years with all the babies, right? My husband and I worked really well together as a team. And we worked really well together with our teens. And we found a good stride there. I homeschooled the kids, things of that nature. Sure, there could have been things that were done very, very differently, that if we were to do it all over again, we would have done it different. But where we found massive, where neither one of us were equipped to handle, is when the kids began to leave, get married, and move out. Wow. We have 2 still left in the house. One just came back, but I mean, she's in the process of building her own home with her 6 kids and her husband. But this was uncharted territory. How do we do this? This shift of kids becoming adults and becoming married and having babies was a foreign world to us. And that's where he and I didn't work really well together at all. We flopped. We really, really flopped. And we had to look for new training. We had to get people that actually could equip us with the right wisdom and knowledge to help us, to help our hearts move through this almost feeling of abandonment, being abandoned by our kids, which is kind of how my husband felt. We had differences of how we felt during that time. I was super excited. But I didn't react well to whatever my husband was going through, which meant I wasn't the right person to stand by him the way I should have or could have. And there's a lot of things that we could have done different. We could do another show about that another time, but which I'm going to talk about towards the end, about one thing that made a major difference and really, 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 really brought some restoration in a place that we desperately needed it. But we're going to the phones because we asked a question to our friends on Facebook. And by the way, if you haven't joined us on Facebook yet, what are you waiting for? Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, Dani Johnson Live, Dani Johnson Live. Meet us there. There's over 300,000 friends that all gather. It's an amazing community of people that will encourage you, that will spur you on, that will believe in you, that post incredible things. Our clients post some amazing wisdom on that page, and everyone is just amazing. There's a few jerks out there, don't get me wrong, but all in all, we make sure to police that page and make sure that the jerks stay away, but that the people that are awesome actually remain. But get over there, be encouraged by that page. We think you will like it. But we got Ivan. We asked our friends on Facebook if they had any questions about this, or what they would comment, what things that they've learned in the past that helped them. So we've got some people that are on the phone right now with us, which is kind of fun to talk to the people that we've seen on Facebook. So Ivan from Phoenix, Arizona, welcome to the show. What are your comments concerning marriage that have helped you?
Well, Dani, one of the things that I really have to say, I had a struggle a lot throughout my life. I didn't even realize that I even had a problem, was just the ability to listen. I always suffered from not remembering people's names, right? So just the simple training of going to First Steps or even to Dynasty, both of those. I wish I would have had that training back when I was a kid, to be able to learn that kind of stuff. And so one of the greatest things that I learned was just the ability to be able to listen. Like, it strengthened our marriage tremendously. I didn't realize how much of a problem I was causing by this ability of not to listen. Like, I know I frustrated my wife several times, but like marriage is a good hard work. You have to work at it.
Yes.
It's not simple. It's one of the things that I learned. And so you have to work as a team, and it's one of the things when you start having kids, you start realizing you guys have to learn how to communicate. And I'm still something I still learn today, even at work, how to be a good communicator. So the hardest thing that I've had to learn was just to listen, not to wait to speak. So it was a tremendous eye-opening experience. I think we've gone to First Steps 5 or 7 times. I don't remember how many times, but it's been transformative, just in the realm of even teaching our children how to do that. It's something that we get a lot of comments on for our kids within our relationship. How can you guys have 4 kids? A lot of people are like, oh, I don't have kids. I just have a dog or whatever. And so I don't know their situations, but I know ours. There's the listening and then also forgiveness.
Yes.
That was a huge thing. Just be able to say, look, hey, I screwed up on this or whatever. I forgive you. That's something we've done with training our kids with raising up the next generation for success.
Yes.
That's one of the good things we've implemented in our house. And I can't tell you how that has just transformed the listening part, just transformed my life and our lives and our family to be able to work as a team. Because it is, I forget who the previous caller was that had it. They were talking about like a business contract.
Yes.
Like a covenant. It's you got to have the whole team work together, otherwise it all falls apart.
Yep.
So people are like, I don't know how you guys have 4 kids. How you guys make it work? I'm like, well, you got to work at it. It's not something easy.
Yep.
You support one, and the other, and then your wife supports you, and you go back and forth. There's no other way around it. You don't just give up just because it's hard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was one of the greatest things that I learned. And I know even in my house, there was talk before my mom got sick about my parents getting divorced. It never came to that, but I didn't want to have big arguments like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that we could have a team that worked together. And I know my wife is very good at what she does in regards to that. And she's the one who brought me to you to do the first steps to success and whatnot. So it was very transformative, and I couldn't be more blessed.
Wow.
To be able to have my ears opened up in that regard.
Man, that's amazing. Ivan, first of all, I appreciate your humility. That's a solid man. Do you know what I mean? Your transparency, to know, like, whoa, I was messing that up, and that was exasperating my wife and my kids. And so, again, there it is. It all boils down to we have to change ourselves. We can't focus on trying to change someone else. And I got to talk about this forgiveness thing, because a lot of times people think that forgiveness in marriage just needs to be used for big things. Do you know what I mean? That it's like, okay, something catastrophic, then I have to forgive him. But just even last night, okay, my husband and myself and my son were in a conversation, and, something came out of my husband, that was not sideways, but maybe I took it that way. Maybe I perceived something, and I had to just go, I'm going to decide to believe that my husband is for me, and he would never intentionally try to say something or do something that was bad for me. And that's where it takes for us husbands and wives. We have to choose to believe we're on the same team instead of choosing to believe that we're against one another. And so I just right away just went, you know what? I forgive whatever that comment was or whatever that remark was. Whatever it was, I choose not to receive it, and I choose not to like stew over it Do you know what I mean? And think about it and think about it. And he shouldn't, and that's just like what he did back in 2005. And you know what I mean? All that stuff just creates all that turmoil. So we have to live in that spirit of forgiveness for the sake of the team. You know what I mean? It's like this. If Ivan, you and I played basketball and we played on a basketball team, there's a good chance that I'm not going to make 100% of the shots that I throw up there. Okay, I might be really good. I might be 80% from the sideline. But the reality is 20% of the time I'm going to screw it up, which means 20% of the time I might make you mad when I screw up. And so as a team, we have to go, dude, I've screwed up 20% of the time too. Good on you, mate. Good job anyway. Shake it off and let forgiveness flow. That if somebody had a bad day, if somebody didn't respond, in the utmost amount of kindness and love and edification, we have got to be willing to go, I've been there, I've done that, and I'm going to extend kindness and forgiveness and mercy and grace, knowing that my husband is for me. He's not against me. We are on the same team, and together we're going to cross the finish line. There were so many years, Ivan, that I believed the opposite of that, and it was destructive in my relationship. Absolutely destructive. He's against me. He's always against me. He never agrees with me. And all that did was create poison for the two of us to try to live in. Such a joke. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
If you and your spouse have fallen out of love, stay tuned to The Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities. And they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage. And I became a mother that I was proud of versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
This is The Dani Johnson Show.
Oh, we're just not in love anymore. We're just not. We were then, we were young, we were stupid, but now we're just not in love anymore. Listen, friend, that's another myth that so much of the population believes, that you just fall out of love. No. Love takes effort. Love takes time. Love takes investment. If you look at in the courting part of your life, you put in so much time, so much effort, so much listening, being interested in things you were never interested in before because you were making an effort to build love. There was so much honor. There was so much respect. You didn't care if they said something smart. You just wanted to hear them breathe. All of a sudden you get married and now it's like, you no longer make the investment anymore. You no longer put that time in and listening so very carefully, even to just them breathing. You don't allow yourself to get excited about them anymore. Why? Because there's fights, there's arguments, there's disagreements, there's things that you're not on the same page with. And now you have a different set of standards once you're married that you try to change each other to be like one another instead of the two of you being conformed into one flesh, a completely different entity altogether called marriage. We're talking about that today, and we're talking about the best advice that you have ever received. We've got Amanda here ready to share the best advice she ever received in marriage. Amanda Snyder from Houston, Texas. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Dani.
Hi. Share with us the best advice you ever got, preparing you for marriage.
Well, preparing us for marriage, I remember the pastor that did the ceremony. He said, never give up. Never give up on each other. You are stuck with each other. And never use, the word divorce. Yeah. So, we try our best. We have very, very difficult situations through the years. We're almost 11 years married. And it was a struggle most of the time. We struggled with communication. We struggled with issues, money, time, so many things. And one day I said, you know what? I don't love him anymore. Just want to get divorced. And so, but the good thing is, my husband always is willing to. He's always willing to to learn, willing to do better. So I think that has made a big impact in our marriage, that he's willing to do his best.
Yep.
And so we asked for help.
Yes.
And we went to counseling, and we seek the help of our pastors. And but as you were saying, there is seasons. So we go through seasons where things are better and things are worse. And it's important to find that encouragement from people who have been successful that help us go through those seasons.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, I thought, yeah.
Isn't that so amazing, Amelia, that you said that seasons are better, some are for worse? Those are the vows that we all took. For better and for worse, in sickness and in health, for richer and in poor. Right? But we only want to be in the rich. We only want to be in the better. We only want to be in the health. Life is not just a bed of flipping roses, buddy. It just doesn't work that way. And so we have to, in the seasons of worse, the seasons of bad health, and the season of lack financially, those are the seasons that are to strengthen us, to have us to come together, to unify, to quit fighting one another and fight the problems instead. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, we've got Lawrence Scott from Canada. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Dani.
Hi. So what kind of expectations, Lawrence, did you have in the beginning, either before you got married, in the beginning of your marriage?
Well, sadly to say, Dani, I had some very large assumptions, basically because we were both Christians. I just assumed, it'd all work out, and whatever problems we were going to face, we would just be finding Jesus there and everything would work out. I assumed that, we'd be making a lot of love and having fun all the time and just conquering the world together. So,
hold on, because you added a whole nother layer. I'm so sorry. I've been chuckling ever since you said, because we were Christians, I had a lot of big expectations. And the picture that I got was, were you thinking you were marrying the female version of Jesus?
Yeah, I was. And I thought I was like the male Jesus, so I was going to be perfect.
I have to laugh. I think I could write a chapter in a book on that one right there. Talk about such a big facade, right? Wow.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, though, Dani, it went on for like 5 years of just warring and fighting with each other, and I just, my communication sucked. I didn't grow up in a home where I got to see how a man is supposed to love his bride.
Yeah.
And and through it all, I was just so egotistical. I actually was finding scriptures and proving my wife wrong, and, I was blaming her for everything. And it actually took me a long time to realize what a fool I'd been, and a lot of the damage I caused right in the beginning, we're still working through it.
Yeah.
So it's I wish I could go back and do it again, but that's what happened, and this is where we're at.
Mm-hmm. So what changed? Because you said that you had to realize some things. What did you realize, and what have you changed to make it better?
Well, things really turned around when we attended a First Steps to Success. We actually, I think it was jams, or just we started to honor each other, and a lot of the fighting stopped. A lot of the arguing, it got a lot less.
That's so awesome.
I can say that even that, I went to a First Steps and a Dynasty, and I didn't think about returning. So that mindset that I had was very, very ingrained in me. So I figured, because I went to one First Steps and a Dynasty, now it's all going to be figured out. And not just the marriage, but business and everything in life. I thought I was going to succeed. So my wife, she's been very patient and loving towards me, and even through my worst, she kept, hanging on and believing that sometime the real me would show up.
Yeah, the man she married.
I remember one event we went to. She came back all excited about the ego and tossing the ego, and I was like, yeah, I heard that. Like, what's the big deal? So I'm just such a slow learner, and I'm really learning that, you know, my wife is a gift. She has a lot of discernment, and she has so much to offer. We're very equal, and I haven't treated her like that for a long time. And right now we're in a very difficult season in our marriage, and I can say that we would definitely be warring still right now if, you know, I didn't actually start learning some things that you were teaching at your event.
Wow.
And I'm very grateful because, you know, I have hope and faith and belief in something much better. And, you know, like, we're both going through a lot of healing. And,
yes.
And it's, you know, I'm trusting God and believing for the best.
Yes.
And I think I'm learning to have patience, which is another thing that I keep thinking, you know, once I hear something or figure something out that it's done, you actually have to walk through it.
Yes, you do. It's that same lottery mentality, Lawrence, is what that is. It's a lottery mentality, and it's a poverty mentality that you have to renounce it. You have to cancel its powers in your life. Lawrence, I want you to stay on the line because we have to take a short break, but there's two things I want to share with you that I think is going to really help not only myself, you, but everybody else who happens to be listening. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Dani will be back with more expert business, money, and relationship advice to help you live the uncommon life. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
It's time to take on a whole new mindset. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
At the beginning of the show, I told you that I was going to share something that helped to bring my husband and I through a really crazy season that we were going through. There's two things I want to share with you. First of all, we had to come to this place where, well, first of all, in the beginning of our marriage was really, really bad. And then we got some training from some people that helped us. And those skills helped us for a lot of years. And then we came to a different season where our kids were growing up, getting married and having kids. And that pushed all kinds of wild stuff in the two of us. And so in that, we realized, like, we are not equipped to handle this season of our life. We need new skills to walk us through this part of our life. The old skills of raising babies doesn't work for these adult children that are in our life who are getting married to people and making financial decisions and other kinds of decisions. And so we didn't handle very well. But there was a lot of striving that had popped up inside of our marriage, and some from stuff from years ago that the both of us need to work through. And I approached my husband a year ago, October, about a calendar. And I told him, I said, the Bible says that we are to be kind to one another. It says that we are to encourage one another as though if it is still called today, we're supposed to encourage one another. You're a one another. I'm a one another. The Bible also says that we're supposed to edify each other. I have failed in this place. I feel like I can improve in this place. I'm going to ask you that you would join me in a calendar, that every day that we are kind to each other, every day that we encourage each other, every day that we edify each other, every day that we do not keep a record of wrong, every day that we do not strive, not argue, that we choose not to walk in our flesh, but that we choose to walk in the Spirit of the Most High God. I say we put an X on the calendar calendar. I'll put one line one way, you put a line the other way. This is around October 25th of 2014. We started that calendar, and it was profound. And so anytime that we mess up, we actually call for a reset. Just like on our cell phones, there's a reset button. It completely erases everything that's in the phone. That's what I'm going to ask that we do. So if we mess up, we call for a reset. And when we mark it on the calendar for how many hours that we screwed up, we put that in the calendar with a little squiggly line. So check it out. We started this, and we come to find out that we only actually had little myths, small little moments of little squiggly lines, like once a month. That was it. Where prior to that, we felt we were fighting all the time. And that was a lie that was coming into our head. Next, what happened is we just now celebrated 128 days. 128 days without a single argument, without any striving, with no myth. 128 days of total kindness, encouragement, edification. And in those 128 days, there has been many opportunities. Many stressful things that have come in, decisions that need to be made, changes that have happened in the family, where we could have been coming against each other, but instead, because we've made this covenant, kindness, encouragement, and love, that is what's changed it. The other thing, I have to share with you another time. We're out of time. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll post it on Facebook. Thanks for joining us today. God bless you. Have an awesome day on purpose. Bye-bye.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it.
Hi, welcome to the Dani Johnson YouTube channel. We're super excited to have you here. And every single week, we're gonna make sure that you get awesome videos for your business, career, making more money, saving money, annihilating your debt, as well as helping you to handle those really tough problems that you have with people at home, as well as at work, and taking those really good relationships you already have and causing them to flourish and grow. All you have to do is click that subscribe button right down here. Click that and you'll be subscribed to an amazing community of people, as well as some great videos that will help to improve your life. Thanks so much for being here. Subscribe now would be good. Just click it. I know you can see it. It's somewhere down here. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.